Recently, I went down a rabbit hole, and by went down a rabbit hole, I mean I fell down a rabbit hole. As it happens, I did not ask for this. I need you to know a few things. I'm angry. This started as a simple question, and it ended with like corporate conspiracy. I just, as a consumer, feel confused and bamboozled and really stupid for never having ever considered this before in my life. This simple question actually came from my best friend a few days ago as she was cooking a broth, a stock. That was the question. What is the difference between stock and broth? Before you start typing, there's more to this, please. Please, I know you're gonna say, just hold on. My best friend asked that question. My response is, I'm gonna Google it in a second, but I'm gonna tell you what I think it is. I think that broth is just a diluted version of chicken stock. And I say this because I recently, this is new knowledge. I'm putting myself out on the line here, okay? I know some of this is the American education system at work, but I recently found out that chicken stock is supposed to be the consistency of jello. So I say that out loud. I say, I recently saw that it's supposed to be jello-texture. So I look it up. The difference is that stock is made by boiling bones and cartilage, which has gelatin in it that gives it that jello texture. Broth is not made with bones or cartilage. It's just made with meat and vegetables. So it has like a less rich flavor, and it is like in a way like a little more diluted in taste, if you will. The texture is different. Stock is used as like bases for sauces because it's so concentrated of a flavor. It's used as like a base for things. This answers the question. Normally I would just stop here and be like, okay, yeah, except for my best friend then responded and said, then how come when you go to the grocery store and you see all sorts of chicken stock and chicken broth and bone broth, they're all liquid? Like, wouldn't chicken stock be jello? And I was like, huh, yeah, that is a good point. It's probably just like way more diluted, but like more concentrated than a broth would be. Like, I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and look that up now. So I get on the internet yet again and I type in, why is store-bought chicken stock liquid? And all of the search results are just, again, the difference between chicken stock and chicken broth, which I have already now established. I know this information, except for this Reddit thread that pops up. You can pause to read. Basically asking the same question that my best friend did, which is like, why, how come? Like, why is it liquid in a box? One of the comments, though, got me thinking. It was store-bought stock is made by waving one chicken wing at 1 million gallons of water plus artificial coloring. And I'm thinking like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. Like, you have the gelatinous substance. Like, how do you sell chicken stock like that? You have to mix it to make it shelf stable and then sell it that way. So then I started wondering what do companies that make broth and stock do differently to make those items different? Furthermore, I'm thinking with my noggin, doesn't the government have certain rules about like what percentage of stuff has to go into stuff? There's a smarter way to say that. For example, you know how it's like chocolate can be like X% bugs legally and like it not be a problem? Or like some foods can legally be like X% mold. I'm thinking even like Subway. Remember when Subway got sued for their bread in Ireland? Because Subway's bread actually has so much sugar in it that it's like more like cake. Basically, my question is there like a minimum percent of like pure stock that is required to go into chicken stock that is sold commercially on the shelves, shelf stable, for it to be considered chicken stock versus a broth? And also, like, now I'm super curious about the difference in the process of making like commercially broth versus stock. Like, how different are they really? So I started Googling. Here I am on the internet again, Googling away. For a frustratingly long time, I could not find any answer. There was no answer to any of those questions. That is not publicly available, like, at all. I was like, this is it. This is the end of the road. We will never get the answer to why this is happening until I found this article from eater.com called Lost in the Stock by Noah Galutin. This article is really long, but it is really funny. He perfectly articulated the rage that comes with trying to research this particular topic. Like, why is there no information anywhere? And why are corporations so weirdly protective over that particular information? Noah fell into this rabbit hole by looking at the ingredients on the back of chicken broth and being frustrated by how like word salady it was. He says, no matter the ingredients list, no matter whether the broth came in a box or a can, I discovered a striking common denominator denominator in almost every major brand I looked at. The very first ingredient in chicken broth is chicken broth. Sometimes the first ingredient would read simply as chicken stock. Swanson chicken broth's first ingredient is chicken stock. Emerald's chicken broth, the ingredients are organic chicken stock, filtered water, concentrated organic chicken stock concentrate, organic chicken concentrate, organic chicken broth, organic chicken flavor, sea salt. Sorry? Sorry? When I'm trying to reach the word count on an essay. Noah also started Googling, and Noah also had such a hard time trying to find any information on the goddamn topic. He found just one article devoted to it. Most commercial meat broths begin with a highly concentrated stock that's diluted with water and then mixed with seasonings to each brand's specification. I thought broth was broth and stock was stock. Broth is stock plus water? So then what is stock? Stock plus water? Wait, hold on, it gets so much weirder. On Swanson's website, they say our chicken stock is made as you would at home, only on a much larger scale. Except for it's not, because it's completely different. By the way, I need you to know that Noah is like my idol. He harassed so many companies to get to the bottom of this. Someone from the New York Times told him over email that box stock has virtually no gelatin. So if you boil a box of stock down to nothing, it will just go away into nothing. There will be no gelatin left. That doesn't make any sense if you're making it the same way that everyone would at home. You know what I mean? The math isn't mathing at all. Noah starts talking to all these different publicists from all these different soup companies. And he asks them, like, point blank, do you have a third-party manufacturer for your stock concentrate that goes into the creation of the broth? And they just would get, like, weirdly tight-lipped about it. They would start, like, corporate speaking him into a corner. Target refused to answer the question. Costco refused to answer the question. Whole Foods wouldn't answer. Del Monte wouldn't answer. Then Noah talked to someone from Campbell's. He talked to someone responsible for Swanson and Pacific Foods lines of broths. And this is so crazy to me. Pacific Foods, on the back of their chicken broth, used to have water and chicken as the first ingredient. And while our pal Noah was writing this article, they changed the first ingredient to chicken broth. Huh? Sorry, Noah must have felt like the main character in this moment. I would have been so justified in my rage. Noah then asked the question, what is broth legally? Which is what I came to this article looking for, and I'm about to give you the answer. The answer is that legally, there is no difference between stock and broth. Both of them, stock and broth, have to have a moisture-protein ratio of 135:1 at the very least. Noah says it best here. Allow me to translate. Essentially, you need a minimum of 135 parts moisture to 1 part protein in order to legally be defined as broth or stock. So again, there is no distinction between the two from a government standpoint. As long as it meets this criteria, it can be labeled as either of them. But wait, there's more. Eventually, Noah talked to someone from General Mills, which is the parent company of Progresso. This employee was a yapper, much like me. They gave him some information. Our recipe starts with broth concentrate, and then we add in water and additional ingredients to create the great-tasting Progresso chicken broth. While he didn't confirm that the concentrate comes from a third-party manufacturer, he did admit that the recipe starts with one, which does certainly imply it. But wait, there's more. It appears that, allegedly, most of the brands that make broth in the United States use the same supplier for the broth concentrate. Not only that, but that supplier is headquartered in Germany, made 3.83 billion euros in 2021, has a foot in basically every industry that we know. And on their website, they say, you may be surprised to learn that people interact with our products on average 20 to 30 times a day. Finally, he gets in touch with someone from PR from that supplier, which is called Savory. Says they individually formulate the chicken broth concentrate based on like what the client wants for their soup. Noah has a good point. He says they're not making soup, they're making savory taste solutions. So you tell me what you think is happening there. Noah came to the conclusion that it does not matter whether you buy chicken broth or chicken stock. It does not matter what brand you buy it from, because essentially they are all the same thing. And I just didn't expect this to happen when my best friend asked me, what is the difference between chicken stock and chicken broth? But now I know, and now you know. And I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.